Are we on? We're on. Welcome to SoulFood Books Poetry Night. We're going to have a wonderful evening of poetry tonight, and we had scheduled a couple of readers, and it looks like one of our readers who has a couple of sick kids at home is not going to be able to make it. That was Martha Solano. She may show up anyway, we don't know, but for now we have an amazing reader for you who came here all the way from Oz or Kansas, one of those. Tom C. Hunley is an associate professor of English at Western Kentucky University and the director of Steel Toe Books, which produces some beautiful poetry books. Janine Hall-Gailey has a book, and she's going to be reading for us sometime next year, hopefully. And his poems have been included in current issues of National Poetry Review, Louisville Review, Verse, Wisconsin. His newest books are, and he has copies here for sale, Octopus from Logan House, winner of the Holland Prize, and Greatest Hits from Pudding House, 2010, which is a very cool thing. It's an invitation only, so you have to be somebody to get invited to be a Greatest Hits poet. And as I said, Tom divides his time between Kansas and Oz, but he also has connections to Seattle, which maybe he'll tell you a little bit about when we welcome him to the mic. So come on up, Tom.
Okay, wow. Thanks for the introduction, Lana. Thanks to you and Michael for having me out, and for all my friends and acquaintances that came out for the reading. I hope Martha comes. She's a really great poet who I picked to read. I was supposed to say why I picked the reader that I'm reading with. That's part of a tradition at this place, and I picked her to read because she writes really well about parenting, motherhood, and is obsessed with language. You can tell by her poems she's obsessed with words, and I also like words, and I write about parenting. My book, Octopus, a lot of the poems are about new fatherhood. And so anyway, it's ironic that she can't be here probably for the reading because of parenting. She's got not just sick kids, but a sick babysitter. Okay, so I just want to start by reading 3 poems from the Greatest Hits chapbook, and then some new ones. My newest project is a sequence of poems in the voices of characters from The Simpsons. I'm going to read some of those if I feel like people know the characters enough. Anybody that doesn't watch The Simpsons ever? Okay, good. So I'll do some of those too, and then some other poems. And
How's the lighting?
the lighting's bright. A little bit, yeah. Sure. Okay. Sure. So I'm starting with a poem called Out of Body Experiences. I don't know really what to say about this poem. I wrote it after I had read a book called, well, actually, let me check. This Greatest Hit series with Pudding House, you have to write little notes about your poems. Okay, I just read a book called The Know-It-All, One Man's Humble Quest to Become the Smartest Person in the World by A.J. Jacobs. And he basically had himself read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica in a year, and then he wrote a memoir in the form of a very abridged Encyclopedia Britannica. So it was all about things he was reading about, but also about what was happening in his life. His wife was having a baby, and he went on Millionaire, that program, and tried to join Mensa and stuff. But anyway, so I just wrote down a bunch of the facts from the book that I liked best, and then I tried to, it's what I call an encyclopedic braid, where you just try to get as many of the facts into the poem as you can. Out-of-body experiences. I wanted out of my body, so I flew into the body of a bird, a canary. But then my canary heart beat 1,000 times per minute. It felt like 50 Red Bulls all at once. My heart wasn't used to so much singing, so much fluttering, so much frantic singing. I wanted out, so I dive-bombed into Giovanni Verrazzano, who discovered the Hudson River before Henry Hudson, who got all the credit. In this new body, I was glad to be a man again, proud of my discovery, but envious of Henry Hudson, whose name would be immortalized by historical error, the way the French horn was actually invented in Germany. I wished I could be the embodiment of such mistaken immortality. I wished to be Henry Hudson. I wanted the credit, not the accomplishment. So I flew into Henry Hudson's body and felt satisfied for a moment. But there was a crew uprising, and I was left in a rowboat to die in the very river that would take my name. In that moment, I wished I had a carrier pigeon so I could send my apologies to my noble rival, Giovanni Verrazzano. I wanted to tell him I knew I was the true also-ran, like Samuel Langley, second to fly after the Wright brothers. Or Elisha Gray, who tried to patent the telephone on February 14, 1876, hours after Alexander Graham Bell left the patent office, whistling like a bird, like a ringing phone. Wishing I could leave my body without dying first, I swam into the body of a female blue whale. My heart weighed 1,500 pounds. My heavy heart was an anchor capable of plunging me into fathomless depths, and I had a sudden urge to nestle up against a bull whale and open myself to his massive phallus, which isn't much odder than René Descartes' fetish for cross-eyed girls, or Charles Baudelaire's love for squint-eyed Sarah, the prostitute who gave him syphilis. I wished to be a man again, but not Descartes or Baudelaire. I wished I could be William Shakespeare, and hallelujah, I flew into William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare of the Kalamazoo Shakespeares, who invented a revolutionary new fishing reel. An accomplished man whose name would never be forgotten. I knew I could die satisfied, and I wished my heart would become a bird and fly singing out of my mouth. The next one's called The Dental Hygienist. I wrote it in the first draft in my head while sitting in the dental chair. Every time I go to the dentist, they talk to me and they ask me questions, but their fingers are in my mouth, so I can't answer. And this one time that was happening, and it made me think about how when I was younger and dating, the women I dated a lot of times were very articulate about their feelings, and I was not so much. So that's in the poem. The Dental Hygienist. She said, "Open up." So I showed her my teeth, a chipped white fence that keeps my tongue penned in. She rinsed my mouth. She suctioned my cheek. She said, "How do you like this town?" So I said, "Oomph," though I meant more every day. And she said, "Gorgeous weather." So I said, "Oomph," though I meant in my mouth. And she didn't say anything. So I said, "Oomph," and "oomph." And I'm not sure what I meant. But she took me to mean, "Would you like to go out tonight and to an expensive restaurant?" When I arrived with a bouquet of roses, she stuffed them in my mouth. She told me all about her feelings, how she feels about fillings, how she feels about failures. She said, "Open up." She said, "It's like pulling teeth, trying to get men to talk about their feelings." So I said, "Oomph," though I meant, "You smell prettier than the flowers in my mouth." And I said, "Oomph," though I meant, "I'm afraid of dying alone." She said I was a good conversationalist and showed me her perfect teeth. I felt an ache in my jaw. I felt drool crawling down my chin. Thanks. One more from the chapbook. It's called Moon-Handled. An 80-year-old woman enters Steak and Shake, orders black coffee, and beeps like a roadrunner every time she needs a refill. The waitress sees the surprise in my eyes, stoops and says, "Hun, she comes in here every full moon without fail." The waitress's face is the wrinkled map of one of those places everyone visits but no one lives in. She makes me fall in love with her loneliness. Or maybe that's the moon. The old woman beeps, bangs her empty cup on the bar. I think I hear a coyote outside among the wind-rattled trash cans. The waitress and I agree that it's a lunatic world. The day's headlines confirm it. Thieves lift occupied porta potty. Hostage fired for missing work. She tells me about her son competing with his college roommate over who could spit farthest out the dorm room window. The roommate thought a running start would propel his spit a record distance, but he tumbled out the window and landed before the spit, which hit his face. "Full moon," says the waitress, but he survived, and maybe it was the booze, not the moon, that made him do it. I tell her about the poet Li Po, who got drunk and tried to embrace the moon's reflection in a lake, then passed out there and drowned. Maybe the moon is really messing with us, I tell her. Just in case, I say, let's take our biggest rockets and knock it down. She laughs. I tip my cap. Then I head for the lake until I catch the moon floating there like a fat, pasty tourist bobbing in an inner tube. I throw a rock at it and yell, "Leave us alone." But then a vision of the world without the moon flashes like someone else's life before my eyes, and it looks something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Everyone the same, no one very interesting. Dear lady, those are my yellowed claws scratching your door. That's my howl, my scritch, my faint siren in the night. And this is my mange, my tangle of hair everywhere, my belly itching for the ends of your nails. The poems in the voices of Simpson characters. I'm looking at it all as one long poem called Annoyed Grunt. In every script of The Simpsons, it'll say Annoyed Grunt, and Don Castellaneta, the voice of Homer, when he first saw that, interpreted it as Doe. So, but they continue to put Annoyed Grunt in the scripts. So this is from Annoyed Grunt, and the speaker of this poem is Edna Krabappel, which is Bart's teacher. And I figured it was a good way to talk about my own ideas about teaching, since I teach for a living. I'm also interspersing her thoughts with the things that Bart has to write on the chalkboard, some of them. At the beginning of every episode, he writes something on chalkboard. Am I the worst teacher ever? I will not waste chalk. If I have the guts to leave the teaching profession and open that muffin store, I will finish what I start. What if the substitute is smarter and prettier than I am? I will not yell, "She's dead," during roll call. If only my husband had been a better husband, or our marriage counselor had been a better marriage counselor, or the two of them weren't so cute together. Cursive writing does not mean what I think it does. What if I wrote letters to their doctors asking to excuse them from checkups? I will not prescribe medication. If I wear a short skirt to work, will Seymour want to see more? I will not conduct my own fire drills. If Bryn Mawr College mostly just taught me to fake it in bed and in the classroom, I will not belch the national anthem. Can't they get their sex education at home? I will not do that thing with my tongue. What can I do for the child with bruises on his psyche, but none on his arms? I was not touched there by an angel. If I smell chalk everywhere I go, I am not Charlie Brown on acid. If the students grow up to cheat on their taxes and their spouses the way they do on their tests, I will only provide a urine sample when asked. Will they realize how under fire I feel, how 1 against 30, how over 40 and single is not funny? If I secretly root for the boy with ADD and against the twin girls with all the answers, March Madness is not an excuse for missing school. Do my students know how little I make? I will not charge admission to the bathroom. There's more, hold on. Can we get rid of all the ribbons and teach self-confidence instead of self-esteem? They are laughing at me, not with me. If I can write the perfect ending to the never-ending story, the world may end in 2012, but this show won't. Also from Annoyed Grunt, this is Bart, all grown up. I didn't do it. I didn't turn into Homer in the ways I'd feared. I'm not fat enough to wear a muumuu, bald enough for Mom to use my head as a mirror, oafish enough to snore at a funeral. I also didn't tell him before he died that he was a good dad. I did steal that video game from Try and Save. They saw me do it. They could prove it. Man, Mom had a cow. I hate seeing her lose her memory, but I'm glad she's forgotten how ashamed she was that day. More ashamed than I felt about being weaker by far than Jimbo, dumber by far than Martin. I did marry Jessica Lovejoy. I remember something welling inside me, drawing me towards her, even as I feared there was nothing drawing her towards me. I did get a job on a demolition crew. All those impulses that kept me after school and got me doped up on Focusin, they pay the bills now, baby. This morning, my alarm clock tried to wake me so my feet would take me away from my dreams to my dream job. Can I borrow a feeling? I sang along, which made my tongue feel brand new, took me back to my childhood home in good old Springfield, USA, scrunched me back into my 10-year-old skin, which even then didn't fit right. And there was Homer, Dad, in a scrubbed new SUV, dealer decals still on the windshield, the proud provider. I hopped onto the bench seat beside him, and the car became a spaceship, and as Dad and I became Kang and Kodos, tentacled and drooling. I turned to wake Jessica to describe the dream to her, but just then I remembered that she'd left me, and the dream fell away like Timmy O'Toole down the well. Jessica believes I cheated on her, but she didn't see me do it. She can't prove it. Eat my shorts, I said to the nothing that wrapped around me, not like arms, not like a blanket, but like midnight, like a rope. I got up to shave, but my face had been erased, lost probably in the smoke clouds at Moe's, where sons, like their fathers, get drunk off their duffs. I looked closer and did see a face in the mirror. I didn't turn into my dad. I turned into Milhouse's dad. Ay caramba. And Lana and Michael, I have a copy of this next poem for, you said I was supposed to bring a copy of a poem for you. It's called Permanent. I thought it would be a good one to read here because it's got a bunch of Seattle references, so Western Washington references. Permanent. Hey, your tattoo fell off, I said, and picked it up. But she thought I was trying to pick her up, so she rushed away, her legs long and tan except for a balloon-shaped vacancy on her ankle where the tattoo had rented space. She was beautiful with curly hair, and probably men had been hitting on her for as long as she could remember, and maybe she assumed that fending off their attentions would be a permanent part of her life. Listen, my parents died last year. They were always there, hovering, when I was small. First the air went out of their marriage, and then Pop was gone, and after that, Mom was gone. A little while after that, I made up that preposterous story about the woman whose tattoo fell off, I guess to illustrate something about impermanence. I should have just said that in Seattle, circa 1991, I saw a blood or maybe a Crip with a tattoo of a tear under his eye. Since then, the Bloods and Crips have gone legit. They own their own record labels, plus a nightclub or two in Rainier Valley, and a majority share in Tully's Coffee. A work crew dynamited the Kingdome in 2000, and Mount Rainier is an active volcano, so even it won't stand forever. And I haven't lived in my hometown for 15 years, but that woman I started to tell you about, she poured her whole self into an embrace with this scuzzball of my acquaintance. Good woman finds bad man and gets lost. That theme is a fixture on Lifetime and Oxygen. I shouldn't have made that up about my parents dying or about the gangs trafficking in coffee. I wanted, I guess, to show you something about impermanence. I wanted, ironically, to make a lasting impression on the subject. I should have just led with the fact that the old Rainier Brewery is now the headquarters for Tully's Coffee. If a landmark like that can't last, maybe no one's marriage has a chance. Maybe all of us should tattoo tears beneath our eyes or fill our hearts with helium and reckless love and let them fly untethered and brightly colored across the sky. Okay, there's two more I want to do. A couple years ago, I was teaching a literature class, and an argument broke out along gender lines. There was a young man and a young woman that were really disagreeing about a poem, but I kind of had the feeling that it wasn't just about the poem. And I thought, well, what if they're a couple that just broke up? As the professor, I have no way of knowing. And it turned out not to be the case, but that's the premise of this poem, that it was. Wives of the Poets. Last week, I told my class how Eleanor Frost never forgave Robert for little Elliot's death. She thought he didn't alert medics fast enough. Maybe he took the road with too much traffic, cracked a bearded, bespectacled young man, or got lost in the beauty of the woods. How can you joke about them losing a child? Accused a young woman with long earrings and boots, and we launched into home burial. Flip a shiny quarter, and it's either an eagle flying away as fast as it can or a dead president trying to look dignified despite the worms under his wig. This week, I tell them, Wallace Stevens said, "A poet looks at the world the way a man looks at a woman." But he and his wife, Elsie, lived in separate sections of their house, and he never wrote her a love poem. 13 ways of looking at a jackass, murmurs the young woman, arms and brows crossed. And the young man replies, "I'll bet he got tired of her getting on his case when he just wanted to unwind with a little guitar hero." And I say, we don't know much about his life, but it's fall semester, and as the trees bare themselves, the students cover up and take back all the promises of spring as the hot kisses they've planted on each other ice over. And I know that next week when I tell them about William Carlos Williams cheating on his wife, Flossie, these two will say, So much depends upon you flirting with my roommate, and not ideas about the cheapskate, but the cheapskate himself. Today, you broke the garage door and said, I'm sorry. You let the laundry pile up, and you're sorry. Here I am, airing our dirty laundry. I'm sorry, you married a writer. All day, I've planned my classes, and now I'm far away from you, lost in the woods of this poem, which isn't great or maybe even good, and I'm sorry that literary biographers and classrooms in the future probably won't be discussing our marriage. We're a sorry couple and no longer young, but flip a coin 100 times, and 50 times you'll forgive me, and 50 times I'll tell you there's nothing to forgive. One more poem, hold on. All right, I will. So I got these, I got chapbooks, a couple different chapbooks for $8 if you're interested in reading more. I've got full-length collections, 3 different ones for $10 each, which is considerably less than the cover price. If you teach poetry writing, I've got a polemic diatribe about teaching poetry writing also. Okay, so I'm going to do more a little bit. This poem is called Often I'm awakened by awful noises, jackhammers, dynamite, walls crumbling, and bigger ones climbing the sky in their places. My future arrives and I have to settle for it. I don't understand how I got here any more than a lobster understands how it ended up in a tank next to a "Please wait to be seated" sign. But both of us can read the faces of the cruelly beautiful women pointing at us. I always feel eyes on me, so I apologize to insects after I kill them, and to the salmon on my plate, caught being nostalgic for home. Everything makes sense if you squint just right, and at least once a day I realize that whatever I've been saying isn't the point at all. I spend most days listening to other people almost making sense, and I don't ask them what the hell they're talking about because they're on television or the radio or because I'm eavesdropping from the next table. When I'm not talking or listening, I'm in a boil, my shell softening. I'm getting a good look at a wrecking ball. I'm crumbling. I volunteered for all of this accidentally by raising my hand, intending to ask a question I couldn't put into words. So maybe 2 more. I don't know what to say about this one. It's called What Can Be Said About the Beautiful from a Distance, Elegant, etc., and the Broken Syllables of Our Imperfect Tongues. In our lust for lists and our need to name, what sense there is to be made gets made and unmade like a bed, and we are both the despairing maid and the young boy, ecstatic to have tussled it into a senseless mess, like strewn wildflowers he would bouquet for her if he were older. Umbrella eaves and the darkening of sky, we contain both of these, the little black-keyed symphony that begins with a note of despair and ends with heart cries of flesh and longing and morning after sighs and the great convulsive sadness of knowing that we never could love as we should love. I've been spared the unspeakable suffering that the newspapers shout out daily, so I can't truly know the greatest joys and gratitudes, and I'm grateful not to know. I'll buy you flowers before you're buried in posthumous praise. Casting its light here in this beautiful park, the sun rests on our skin. Nothing more remarkable has ever happened. Home is where the heart attack is. I'll buy you a drink before one of us in our clumsy fumbling breaks. The heart attack wants what the heart attack wants. I've been singing happy songs into your mouth for the mere pleasure of listening when you lift them back to my ears, those ditches where so many silly voices have dumped so many silly words. The maid, tired from scouring other people's houses, spanked the spoiled rich boy silly and was fired by his parents, their blue blood boiling. A hinge that opened the door to a better life, it turned out, for it forced her to go to college, get an MBA, become a CEO. If you're wondering whether their paths crossed again, that's good, wonder being central to poetry. Anyone who has ever felt nervous or awkward in a crowd but comforted to learn it's only part of some larger nervousness spreading in the crowd like the wave, or any scarred body that has ever felt marred beyond hope of beauty, lodged in a bottle, lost in an antidepressant fog, yet still praising naked infinite possibility knows what I'm talking about, the swervings of the heart, the remarkable change of the sky from hour to hour, that sort of thing. The spoiled boy turned humble man and the maid turned CEO did find each other and they married, but their marriage belly flopped. She married the idea of all the unfairness in this world under her thumb, over her lap. He married the memory of someone caring enough to set him straight. Their marriage died of a heart attack. Wherever you go, they are there, the luckless in love. I can taste them on your tongue, answers to a question I won't let myself ask. I kiss you harder as if to insist that the boy didn't jump on the bed when the maid told him not to, and I will never leave you. Neither of us will ever have a heart attack, ever. The sun resting on our skin will never depart, leaving us cold and in the dark. And as for the black keys on the piano, the minor notes, the weepy tones, those won't need to be there anymore. Okay, so the last one is called Psalm on a Theme by Dean Young and a somewhat similar theme by Allen Ginsberg. When I die, Lord, I want to come back as a cloud an airplane passes through just before the crash, lit up by blazing sunset and just freed of a heavy cleansing rain, a cloud gifted with speech, enough to say, change your course, pilot. I want to change, cloud-like, into the sort of person who finds a wallet and an abandoned infant and knows which to keep, which to return, and does it. Sometimes I lose myself in a crowd. Sometimes I find myself in a cloud. Sometimes I want to die, Lord, from embarrassment. That's just an expression, like I'm falling apart and I love you to pieces are expressions. But if I do fall apart, I do want you to love me to pieces, Lord. It is written in a Dean Young poem, the mind is a tiny island you've washed upon. Is that true, Lord? About me, not you, I mean. Dean Young, the poet, not Dean Young, the creator of the comic strip Blondie, I mean. It is written in an Allen Ginsberg poem, I'm sick of my own mind. Give me just a little piece of yours, Lord. I'm going to give you a piece of my mind is an expression, but I mean it literally. I feel like a sandwich is an expression, meaning I crave bread and cheese with ham and lettuce and mustard, if you please. But sometimes I really do feel like a sandwich, Lord. And at these times I feel like Dagwood has his eyes, then his hands, then his drooling mouth on me, and I feel like I know how Blondie must feel. These times are clarifying times. They make me realize I don't want to die. I've wandered for 40 years through the desert of my mind, Lord. I want you to fill my mouth with water and prayer and maybe a jagged little song. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. I'm Michael Dillon Welch, and for those of you who are new to Soul Food, Lana Ayers and I curate this reading series. And for those of you who are not new, you will know that what I'm about to do is not what we usually do here. And that is that I'd like, Tom, I'd love to have you come back up here for a second. This is spontaneous. So, because unfortunately Martha can't be here, I thought maybe we could ask you a few questions about you and your work. Sure. So I have some questions, and unrehearsed, and we can have everybody ask questions too. But first question is, you referred to, I think Seattle is your hometown. Can you tell us a bit about your Seattle connection?
Sure. I grew up around Federal Way, Washington. Really? I got a friend here that was in second grade with me, which is cool. And, in Federal Way, seriously? Valhalla, Totem, and Thomas Jefferson. Really? Wow, it's a middle school now? Yeah, okay. And my wife also grew up in Federal Way, but the better side of the tracks. Adelaide, Lakota, Adelaide, Dakota, Decatur, right? But I moved away to go to grad school in 1994, and I followed my wife to law school in New York City in 98. Then I went to grad school again in Florida, at Florida State, and then I ended up with a job in Kentucky. I've been there for 8 years, so I miss some things here. I miss seeing the mountain. I always thought growing up that you just, wherever you went on a clear day, you saw a mountain. I mean, I just assumed that, more or less. So.
And you also edit and publish Steel Toe books, and Janine has a book that's published with you. Can you tell us something about the press and what you look for in manuscripts, how long it's been published, you've been publishing, and the number of books you have.
Steel Toe Books has been active since 2003. We've got 16 or 17 books, I guess, if you count the two that are in the pipeline. Janine's is actually still our bestseller. Becoming the Villainess, all about female comic book superheroes and other female personae from the ages. I don't know. We look for something that we keep wanting to go back to, something that stands out from the big stacks of manuscripts we get when we read. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that is really impressive on paper. I mean, the acknowledgments, they've been in great journals, but I mean, it just isn't quite us. We did tell Poets Market, we gave them a list of criteria. We said we liked performability, so poems that read well out loud. We mentioned humor. We mentioned a clear, distinct voice, an original voice. But I don't know, you really know it when you see it. I mean, one time, one of the early books that we published, it was kind of the opposite of all the stuff we told poets and writers, but it was this amazing book of poems about the guy's parents meeting in a slave labor camp in Poland. At Holocaust literature, basically, which was not what I thought of when I was talking about, a press called Steel Toe Books, but so it was really just the stuff that jumps out. We got two really great books coming out. One, Vertical Hold by Jeff Simpson, who's 30 years old. His book was we had to put it on hold because it was a finalist for the National Poetry Series, which is the third time one of our books has been a finalist for that, and then we were fortunate to publish it because they didn't. And then we're publishing a book. We're arguing with the author about the title, but it's Richard Carr, amazing book. Every poem is 11 lines long, and he's speaking to God in every odd poem, and God speaks back on the same topic in every even poem, and they're very quirky. It's a very strange God that he has, but very believable.
And I also spy that your greatest hits that you read from. And if any of you are not familiar with the series, there must be hundreds of books in that series now. I've lost count, but
There were 282.
282, okay. And they're a wonderful series to be part of. How do you get invited to be part of it?
Good question. Well, when you get one published, you get to invite somebody. And so it's too late. A lady named Diane Lockwood is going to have one because I invited her. But I got invited by one of the members of the board. They have a board also, about 5 people, that they have the power to invite people, and then their authors get to invite one. So become friends with Vivian Shipley. That's who invited me. Yeah, at this point. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
Is there any future or hope or utility to e-publishing when it comes to your edition?
Oh, I really don't know that much about that. I mean, I'm really slow at jumping on the technologies. I mean, I got my first cell phone a few years ago, and it's a flip phone, I know I'm going to buy a Kindle at some point. I'm waiting for them to get really awesome and cheap. I really like GPS of all the new technologies, and I kind of like Facebook.
You're a late adopter.
Yeah, right. So I'm sure it's going to change things a lot. Like right now, I mean, I brought one suitcase and a briefcase, and I had like 18 books, And so then I met somebody in a hotel, airport bar who had a Kindle, with thousands of books on it, and I could see her point, So at some point, I'm going to have to adjust to that, and the publishing world will too. But I don't really know all the answers about it.
Any other questions? Well, keep thinking. I do have a couple more myself.
I think I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Edit on paper.
Yes,
So what color pen do you use to edit and why?
mostly black. I don't know.
So, as a teacher of poetry, can you share 3 secrets for writing poetry and maybe for teaching poetry as well?
I'm leading a workshop on Saturday at the Splab at 12 o'clock till 3 on prose poetry, 5 different kinds of prose poetry. I think that's all the kinds there are. I mean, this is just me looking at journals and whatnot. I came up with 5 types of prose poems. I'm going to go over each kind, examples of them, and we're going to write, and then we're going to do like an open mic kind of thing. So So there will be secrets revealed there. It's $20, $10 if you're a student. No one's turned away. It's a suggested $20 kind of thing. The splab is it's something that used to be called the Columbia School in Columbia City, on or near the Rainier Avenue. It used to be in Auburn. They moved it. I don't know. I mean, really, I on the spot, I don't think I can come up with any great tips, but I have some written down that I'm going to share on Saturday. Yeah, but it took me 185 pages. I don't know. I just think creative writing instructors aren't reflecting enough on what works and what doesn't compared to other types of teachers. I minored in what's called rhetoric and composition, which is where you learn how to teach, freshman composition, but also other kinds of essay writing. And that field is very more scientific, I guess. And so I just wrote this book and another one that's on the way called The Poetry Gymnasium, which are about ways that the creative writing industry can maybe learn from the Rhet Comp side of things. In particular, in this one, Rhet Comp has what they call the 5 canons of rhetoric: invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery. And when I came across those, I said, well, you could teach creative writing using these 5 areas. And so I wrote about each of the areas in there and how I think it could apply to poetry. And then the new book is 95 exercises using the same 5 the categories of exercises, and it's got examples written by my star students and examples by published poets that I'm trying right now to get permissions to reprint. And that's going to be out in January 2012 with McFarland and Company, Inc. I'm very excited about it. So I've written 2 books about, one for teachers, which is that one, and another one for writers and students, which is coming out. And I don't know, I do have a lot of ideas about teaching in those.
One last question. Do your students ever want your autograph?
No. I mean, sometimes, maybe because they're trying to get an A, they ask me to sign a book, and yeah.
Thank you. Thanks to Tom. I suppose there's still a slight chance that Martha might show up, in which case we'll do our best to accommodate her, but I don't think she'll be able to make it. We'll take about a 10-minute break. What time is it? I haven't checked. Okay, so we'll take about a 10-minute break. The sign-up sheet was over there last I saw it. I don't know where it is now. Okay, so if you'd like to read in the open mic, please sign up. And the question for the night is, what is your favorite board game? So please make sure you write that down too. Your favorite board game. Please go get something to drink. Check out Tom's wonderful books. There's one I've got my eye on myself, so don't get that one. And we'll see you in 10 minutes.
stars, the moon and the sun. By heaven, the stars, the moon and the sun. Ooh, mama, look what has been done. You can only see the stars after the setting sun. You run for the money. You don't even know about Wild Mountain Honey. Come on, mama, heal this lonesome man. Plant the seed of wholeness in the desert land. You run for the money. You don't even know about Wild Mountain Honey. Come on, children, best learn how to run. By heaven, the stars, the moon and the sun. By heaven, the stars, the moon and the sun. Come on, Papa, heal this lonesome man. Plant the seed of wholeness in the desert land. Ooh, run for the money. You don't even know about Wild Mountain Honey. Come on, Papa, your end is the means. Don't trade your love and goodness for the golden machine. You run for the money. You don't even know about Wild Mountain Honey.
When I need some place to go, maybe sit down and listen to a guitar show, pick up a book, find me something to read, or a cinnamon coffee is what I need. I go to Soul Food. I mean the bookstore. I mean in Redmond, where I am now. Well, the weather gets dry and the weather gets wet. I ain't never met weather I couldn't deal with if I came in to reel with the Soul Food. A little book to eat, a little page to read, and a brain to feed. Yeah, they got a little thing looks like a potbelly stove, and 47 miles the day I drove to get down here by that potbelly stove. That ain't a potbelly stove. It's a mixer thing of some kind, with some sort of necklace of shells hanging on it. They got 3 cameras and a soundboard and an espresso machine that just keeps going. I think they're turning out coffee at night when the place is closed. Well, I'll tell you the truth, and it ain't no lie. Bill Gates is living nearby, but I don't think he ever comes in here because his brain would have to get too clear. He can't do that. The numbers would go down, stocks would drop, and the micro would get way too soft. Well, it seems to me, and it seems to me that this here's the 21st century, and hard to remember. It seems to me the 20th century, that was a long time ago. How about you? Number 22? 23, 24? Not me, I'm gonna hang around the bookstore. Now they got a CD or something like that coming out, and that's what this here song is all about. They got something coming up for the anniversary of the opening of the bookstore. I don't think I can be here. I mean, not physically. I'll be here in other ways, of course, but I mean, physically, I think I might be otherwise disposed. That doesn't sound right, does it? Like they crumple you up like a piece of tissue paper and throw you out. Indisposed is what I meant to say. No, that doesn't sound right either. That means that they'd like to throw you out, but they can't figure out how. Otherwise engaged. No, that sounds like you're going to be married. That's not what I meant to say either. Otherwise employed somewhere else. I guess what I mean to say is good luck and happy anniversary. So if you're wandering around Redmond, you're looking for a place to be, just pick one of the QFCs. There's a couple of them right near each other, so, if one don't do, you can pick the other. One of them is near SoulFood Books, and the other one isn't. So if you go to one and there's no SoulFood Books around, you know you're at the wrong one. Just ask them where the other one is. They'll send you over here. Though this is just a little song to try to say that I sure am happy to be here today. Where the sound is fine and the coffee is swell. And the audience can lay around on the couch, sleep. And that's okay, and I try not to play songs that'll wake you up if you're asleep. And I try not to play songs that'll put you to sleep if you're awake. I try to kind of straddle that line between fully conscious and fully in dreamland. And the standing invitation is still there, like I said last time. Bill, you're on my guest list. Come on down.
Dale una chinita a la negrita, échale baigón al baigón. Dale una chinita a la negrita, échale baigón al baigón. Cuando la negrita quiere bailar, baigón viene a molestar. Sí, échale baigón al baigón, échale baigón. Echa pa' afuera, baigón. Echa pa' afuera, baigón. Echa pa' afuera, baigón. Echa pa' afuera, baigón. Cuando la negrita quiere bailar, baigón viene a molestar. Sí, cuando la negrita quiere bailar, dale una chinita a la negrita, dale una chinita que quiere gozar. Dale una chinita a la negrita, dale una chinita que quiere fumar. Echa pa' afuera, baigón. 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 Dale una chinita a la negrita, dale una chinita que quiere fumar.
Stranded at the crossroads between wrong and right. Awake in the moment at the strike of midnight. Any move that I make will take me from here. You can leave me in the dark with nowhere left to turn. Still my light will shine bright, oh, in my mind it will burn. for there is still one thing that can't take away my hands in the dirt, my eyes open wide. Oh, I live by the rise and the fall of the tide. I will head with my bow, face into the wind. You can cast me out to sea while the storm rages on. I'll be carried upon the waves like the chords of a song. But there is still one thing that can't take away. You can blindfold the truth, you can leave me no choice. You can beat me down and hush my voice, and I'll hold in my heart what they can't understand. For I've lived within the lies that we proudly get fed. I've been lost into a world with no place to lay my head, and there is still.
Welcome to the open mic portion of the evening. We have many wonderful people signed up. And I just wanted to thank Tom again. I never actually met Tom in person, only through the ether. And I think a big reason that I invited him here, not only is that because I'm a fan of his poetry, is because I kind of wanted to be adopted into his poetry family. So I hoped I could get it in. But anyways, it was a delight to have him here. And let's start our open mic. So the question of the evening, we always ask our open mic people to share an answer to a question and kind of, figure out how we're all alike and how we're all different. Is a favorite board game? I had to think a lot about that because as a kid I didn't play too many board games. But I think maybe Boggle. I don't know if that counts. That's a board game. So maybe that. I mostly played cards. Like I was playing poker when I was a kid. So not a board game. Right. Yeah. And our first open mic reader of the evening also is a fan of Boggle. Please welcome Kathy Green from Federal Way.
Yeah, and my favorite Boggle opponent is sitting over there. If they ever had Team Boggle, though, 2 against 2 Shin, I would probably win the world championship. Yeah. Oh no, it's really kind of interesting. I am a music teacher, and I teach at Tom's old. I'm the band director at Tom's old alma mater. The first poem I'm going to read tonight does have a story. The current significant person in my life is sitting at the hospital right now. His son had brain surgery, had a brain tumor removed on Tuesday, and they didn't know anything about it until last Friday. And it's his eldest son, and it's been a shock to all. When he first let everybody know about it on Facebook, this was what he wrote, and he gave me permission to read it to you, and it inspired the poem that follows. I'm sitting in the hospital lobby. The gentle bustle provides a welcome distraction. Latest news from the OR. Aaron is doing well, and they are currently removing the tumor from his brain. A cellist and pianist have just sat down and begun to play music. The Swan, the Moldau, oh Danny boy. Gentle rain drips down the atrium windows and across my face. That was the Facebook post. And I asked if I had his permission to write a poem, and he said okay. 7 hours. I lost you in stages. You grew, became a man, after your parents became 2 separate people. adrift now from your daily life, my love is still as though the infant were still in my hands. But you are one floor below me in surgeon's hands. Gentle rain drips down the atrium windows across my face. The other poem I'm going to read, this happens to be the weekend of the State Music Teachers Convention. It's in Bellevue this year. Thank God I don't have to drive to Yakima. And I grew up in Texas, and Arlington, Texas. Anyway, my father was also a music teacher, and had a very interesting relationship with him my entire growing up. And there's a reference to the State Music Teachers Convention in this poem, too. It's not a happy poem. Measures of time. The voice on the phone at 4 a.m. asks if I want to come watch my father die. I remember calling Father, asking him to come in 3 weeks to watch my performance at the State Music Teachers Convention 10 miles away. My college band received a 10-minute standing ovation, tears of pride streaming down our cheeks, and he, a music teacher, could not find time to be there. And I remember the 7 a.m. call when he tells me he will not be there in 2 hours to judge the music contest with me. Self-centered hurt was barely blunted years later at the discovery he was in a jail cell that morning. But I replied to the voice on the phone, no, he doesn't want me there. 1 hour later, when the voice tells me he is gone, I turn and weep into my partner's arms. And Dad is free of meter's constraints, and in a sense, now so am I.
Thank you. And this is your first time here at SoulFood? Okay, all right. Okay, well, welcome back. And if anybody is reading for first time, please identify yourself so we can give you an extra cheer. Our next reader has been here numerous times, and his favorite game, board game, actually when I came up with the question, I was really thinking any kind of table game, but board game is fine. And his favorite game is Go, and I didn't know this. Herb McLeese. Go, I didn't know that.
As I said, go figure. Did anyone know the game Go other than Michael? Yeah, it's a very nice, excuse me, it's an old game. It's kind of the opposite of chess. It's based on playing lightly with fewest people to control as much territory as you can, as opposed to all the power being directed to one place in a nuclear exchange. And so it's a good way to understand Vietnam, for example, as a war, and why we were destined to lose that war, even though we could control any territory with arbitrarily large amounts of power. But anyway, I guess one could argue that poetry could be more like Go. That is, you don't use few words, but strategically located to open up or connect with as much territory of the heart. I'm just going to play with it. I'm playing with reading, so see whatever happens, happens, you know. Robin's song. Our songs have been sung. We listen and wait at the bottom of the year. Brave Robin, harbinger of spring, sing for us a new song, shaped by ancient dawns and composed this starry night for spring's first morn. This poem is, its emotional roots is as a teenager going to Singapore. the whole family moving to Singapore by ocean liner. And as you can imagine, that was quite, in those days, people actually went places on ocean liners. It was not just go out there until you get Norwalk and then come home, you know. Pardon me my shaking. Try not to rattle the paper. I wish there was a stand. There's no music stand here, is there? Okay. There is? Oh, thank you. Yeah, he's going to help. Yeah, I'd appreciate that. Sometimes I forget and order coffee with caffeine in it, and I suppose that's not good. Right. I need a little more light, too. This is oriented to the rap poets that can have everything in there all memorized and all this, and I dare not find out how little I can remember. Thank you so much. Now, if I can get some light on it. Excuse me. I guess there's just not much light. Oh, there's some light. Good. Oh, no, it creeps people out to see poets with headlights. It's called Sea Message. Our ship sails, bearing our lives to the four winds, its wake quickening the sea's foamy skin. O crescent-seared sea, flaked with the sun's scattered embers, quench not the failing light. I was a camera, awash in beauty, suspended between sea and sky, and powerless to act. Then came the shutter press, a Seahawk stoop, down the scarlet canyons towards the metalled waves. At the graceful dawn, my pen took flight across the glistening page, damp with the wind-borne message of the sea. Then my last one. This poem is, in a way, prophetic for me. I wrote it, I think, last year sometime. The Fairy Queen. In sunshine and firelight, in harvest and healing, in passion and heartache, the Queen's radiance shines. She surges nature's verdant tide, and the colt's prancing gait, and warms the healing waters drawn from secret springs. She lives in singing dancers, circling her roaring bonfire, and dies with the setting sun streaming across quiet lakes. Upon her fairy smile, lovers leap hand in hand, fiery heights unburned to find their own hearts ablaze. At last, her fire to ashes falls, with coals glowing as distant stars, her heart open to immured calls, as birdsong heard through prison bars. Silent man, stricken with remembered pain, 'tis by the fairy queen's death that love trumps grief. Then meet her gaze, her awestruck champion, and leaping the sunset glow, your queen reclaim. Thank you.
Thanks, Herb. Our next reader has a little story here. Okay. Enjoys Pictionary, but can never get four people together. So if it's only true, it's Boggle. Please welcome Lisa Schmidt.
Oh, just two more, okay. I'll read two poems, and the first is called Light, that I wrote last night. Light. I first saw it on night's windowsill, that prodigious offspring elongating the window frame, threading miles of cloaked light through the agate I placed there, reaching me with that tug I felt as a child when fresh air pulled drapes near the window open to a voice I never knew as breeze or tree. Looking up, sharp outlines confine my gaze, focus stars to nothing more than periods. I wish for no one to tell you it's only the moon. And the other one I'll read is called Poem Hunting. I've been waiting all day up here in this stand for one to come in range. I never actually seen one in the wild, but I hear there's something to be reckoned with. I'd like to find me one free in the open, all muscles and dark and fat with thick fur, mad and drooling a growl that'd wake you up with a heart attack right before ripping your insides out. A buck or a boar, ain't sure what you call it, but they say you ain't gonna find a buck out here. I heard they's more afraid of us than we are when they come close, but way up here, I figure I'm safe as well as out of view. So I sit real quiet, intent, staring into the stillness, fingers ready to squeeze the life right out of it. Word has it, Neruda brung most of his back alive. No wonder he got the smart ones and I pick off the weak in captivity. I wouldn't know how to capture one live, much less how to tame it like some do. I seen 'em. But you gotta stop talking now and shush. Yeah, I just keep on waiting in silence, since I heard that's what they feed on.
Thank you. Our next reader loves Scrabble, a man after my own heart. Peter Ludwin.
This first poem I wrote over Christmas when my friend Lois Jones and I rented a cabin for 3 days in the San Jacinto Mountains, 100 miles east of Los Angeles. And there was a deck right outside my bedroom. And I would go out there every morning and write first thing. It was really, really nice. So this is called From the Deck. That sun, then, the rage of it, tender in the eye when I gaze at melting snow, a thin stream decanted from the roof's waterlogged shakes. On all sides, oak and pine, the syllables of manzanita, a flavor that soaks my ear like the creek. I wonder if the sequoia snaps some 50 feet above the ground, limbs upraised in supplication, remembers the saw's bright agony. Or if the calling crow, hard at his mischief in that branch-studded valley, has salved its wound. Decipher cirrus streaks along the distant ridge, and you inhabit an acorn's memory, its slow unfolding into shadow. On this winter morning, even the slatted rocker I ride with purpose reveals inscriptions held from sight. Their angle true to the grain, a code warming my palm. And this other poem I wrote with my friend Alan Braden in mind. Alan grew up in a tiny community on the Yakima Indian Reservation called White Swan. This is the Indian Shaker Church at White Swan. Because it stands alone, down the road from low, ground-hugging houses, gutted trailers, the half-decanted limbs that strain to prop up lives on the res, it makes us backtrack into silence. 100 years old, paint weathered from sun and starrow, its steeple perforates the sky, an outcrop bared by receding waters. In one corner, a Blaze King wood stove harbors flame for those no longer present. Split logs stacked along the near wall await their time, their transfiguration into light, ember, ash. I move out onto a lacquered floor dappled with white blobs. Wax from candles spiked to metal frameworks overhead has dripped a counterpoint to hymns. As if a flock of magpies, those feathered punks who love nothing more than to crash a party, had staged a raid and left for proof their splattered graffiti. Above the door, easy to overlook, a notice framed on faded paper declares a fine of up to $200 for disturbing a religious service. Because it stands alone, as do the Indian on horseback trailed by two dogs, the Yakimas drinking at midday who wave to us each time we round the curve out of town, the aroma of shredded bark that stings our nostrils. Each of these, like this relic of a building, still lives from which my lover and I draw rough attempts at translation. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. And we have another Scrabble lover, Danielle Jacobowitz. Come on up.
Thank you. Oh, wow, that's loud. I actually just moved to Seattle from Connecticut a few months ago for a music teaching position. Yeah, my job is awesome. Yay, kindred spirits. I could never find anyone to play Scrabble with, strangely enough, of all the bright people in Seattle. Oh boy. Just one moment, sorry. Okay. This is New Orleans. Stray cats glare like the statue of Christ, whose shadow looms over this city. Sidewalks shift like tectonic plates, and the water comes off the river to fill our lungs. I wonder with the unblinking eyes of animals what the sky would look like without trees, and if God would follow me here. And this one is Christmas Eve. We have this ritual in these small, steepled towns when the air is too cold to smell the wet paper from the mill. A candle lights each window in homes that have nothing to prove. I walk the dark roads and stare, hoping that the strength of my ache will not seep through the door. This one is a true story. It's called TikTok. A bullet lies deep within the face of my grandfather's clock. A heavy click bears reminder of the man who shared his name and considered a child to be cause for fear. He almost died that day. I press my breath against the wall of my rib cage, terror scampering like a dormouse, and wait of the inevitable clawing we will endure if we ever try to bury him on the hour. Is one more okay? This one's about my father. He's not dead. It's called Epitaph. It's a silly disclaimer. It's in 4 parts. It's a little bit longer. 1. You died this morning, caught in the web of dawn and the infestation of ladybugs on my window. My mouth became a cathedral, holding dissonance on my tongue like bells. and you followed me through the kitchen as I sang my lament. 2. Your voice slipped through the cracks of my bedroom floor, rose like smoke and spilled in my throat, billowing and seeping into my skin deeply enough to persuade belief. 3. But your words hold more potency than a woman's reflection. They are swollen with your father's neglect. The obsession forms pools in my chest, and I speak against my fingers. This must be what drowning feels like. 4. I drank your tears from my cupped hands and shed my relief like snakeskin. Thank you.
Thank you, and please come back. I have a third book coming out later this year from PA Books in Tokyo, and it's a book of photographs on bonsai, and I've contributed some translations of basho that I've done with Emiko Miyashita, and I'll read. I call it the set a year of basho, so there are 12 poems, one for each year, month of the year, and I'll share the first 6. And I'll try the first one in Japanese. Ikoshimo ni kokoro base ono matsukazari. After years of frost, the unchanged green heart of the New Year pine decoration. And I don't know if you're familiar with them, but just the way we put up Christmas trees, in Japan they'll put pieces of bamboo with small pine boughs with them, tied with pieces of white paper for New Year, and they're all over. They'll tie them to the front bumpers of cars, over your door of your house, and everywhere. After years of frost, the unchanged green heart of the New Year pine decoration. Second month, gradually spring. The land just so, with moon and plum. And if those of you who studied haiku, you may have heard that they require what's called a kigo, or a season word. And the standard practice is one season word per haiku. But there goes basho with gradually spring, the land just so with moon and plum. So there's that rule out the window. Third month. Truly spring. Nameless mountains in a thin morning mist. Fourth month. How brilliant. Leaves both green and young in the sun's light. Fifth month. Suruga Road. Even the wild orange blossoms smell of green tea. And the sixth month. Sixth month. Clouds resting on the peaks of Arashiyama. Arashi means storm, and Yama is mountain. And I thought this meant Stormy Mountain at first, which does mean that, but it's actually an area of Kyoto, on the west side of Kyoto with lower hills. But it's a famous place in Kyoto. Sixth month, clouds resting on the peaks of Arashiyama. Our next reader is not really sure what her favorite board game is. Maybe too many to choose. Corinne Allen.
Yeah, kind of a lame answer. I'm not very good at board games. And I'm losing my voice, I'm sorry. All right, this first poem's a little older. most of all mine are. But it's kind of like dealing with other people's jealousy and such. But it's called Ghost of Cologne. I didn't think about Witch of Cologne until later. Phantom clothes that smell of juicy couture, dirty English, fly out and make their existence known. So inconveniently, my corporal being cannot fathom such a ghost. The dead just don't stay dead, and the living breathe it in and notice the subtle differences, enough to cause minor difficulties. I don't want this haunting to chill a mutually beating heart. Laid to rest, your skeleton is long gone and buried, as are the dreams and feelings behind them that clung to that very scent that once drove me mad. I prefer the scent of sweat now. And this one I just wrote yesterday, so I'm kind of getting slowly into the swing of writing poetry again, I think, but I don't know. I call it morning flashback, also known as dreams and hallucinations keep the world at bay. My lips chap and split. All I taste is metal. I chew it over and make it worse. My winter birthday is deceiving. Balloons can't replace the sun. I hate the cold. Layer after layer, I'm blown out of proportion, and it's hard to keep my gaze steady, hard to keep heavy lids open. But that early in the morning, I feel my dreams are more coherent. My fingers are frozen, my lips are swollen, so I'd rather crawl back into bed, where we'd fall victim to Caesarean poison in the late afternoon. It's better in our bed, better in my head, instead of playing grown-up in a world too strange. I'm too disconnected for this. I like it when the world is ours, like when we ate those altered ginger snaps, and the tracks were excitingly endless, when it seemed we were the last on Earth, and each adventure could never be captured in words or a picture. I hope to melt again, melt into the earth with you again. There's nothing else like that connectivity, nothing more real than our anti-reality, nothing else like your hand in mine, down the endless tracks to wherever we want to go. Life's mysteries aren't as mysterious or foreboding, and though acting like childish fools, we felt curious and spontaneous. We were without fear, playing in the dark, though like foolish children we were, I say without an ounce of shame. But I have to wake again. I have to clear my head of distracting fantasies and beautiful memories and try to go through the daily motions. However, I'll keep the mental pictures playing through my mind. Only that kind of insanity can keep you sane. Thank you.
Thanks, Corinne. Sounds like you're back into poetry. Keep going. Next up, we have someone who likes new rules Scrabble, and perhaps he'll tell us what those are. Victor David San Diego.
Thank you, Lana. That's where you get to use words from any language. And I recently played that with a friend of mine who knows 5 languages, and of course I got smeared. But I'd like to share 3 poems from a manuscript that I recently finished called The Red Sky Inside Me. This is the second death of God. And so he comes, as he knew someday he must, to despise the tsunami of thoughts and stories that wash over him, drowning him in an incessant procession of celestial bodies, forests, street cafes, beggar faces, oceans, and ships. Each rock he harbors, rising as they do above the tide line of voices, touches his silence only briefly before he sweeps once more into the magnificent phosphorescent churning of creation. A man hates what he needs because it binds him to his unspoken desires and imprisons him deep inside his life. He considers using the knife to slice an arterial to God, but he has a deep fear of blindness. The colossal weight of the sky could crush his vision to lavender pulp, and he isn't ready to leave the world of ferns, footprints, and pine needles behind. Checkpoint. When evening comes to Adam at the checkpoint, she carries death of day in her arms, places death of day on a mat, the roadside quaking. Do you love? She asks, and Adam nods. Do you love? She asks, and death of day rolls sideways. A puncture bleeds minutes into spreading stains of hour, and Adam puts his palm on his chest. Evening points Adam with her wrist to a garden at the checkpoint. She rolls death of day a cigarette and, burning with sunset, runs it through her smoldering fingers. Do you love? She asks, and Adam kneels to death of day to feel the stormy passage of morning in its afternoon hair. Evening is tall and growing stronger on death of day flesh. She drapes a shadow on Adam at the checkpoint and blows a narrow breeze from her mouth. The air changes masters, heaps a scented load of cloudbank on the garden, and climbs the legs of evening to mate with her thighs. Do you love? Evening asks. Adam puts his chin in her hand and his infant finger on her breastbone. He prods death of day with his foot in the rib cage and hears a faint rattle of Sumerian bones. It is enough, Adam says, to rub your sticky serum over my skin. And this poem is called On the Way to the Mountain. I dedicate this to my friend Eileen Fix. Man finds God on the side of the road, warming his hands on a burning cross. If you love me, God says, light my straw feet on fire. Man spits sparks, and God dances in flame. Everything worth having hurts, God says. Man blows a woman without legs from his mouth. She cannot run to the edge of the meadow with man. Man builds benches. She cannot climb the steps to the cathedral. Man carries her in his arms. Hold on, God says. I may rub an ointment on her lower belly with your fingers, and like a field of seeds, her legs may grow to taste the summer sky. Man frowns and rubs ash in his hair. Will she still love me, man asks. God narrows the bridge of his eyes. Drowned that infant question in the tub, God says. You will still love her. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next reader likes cribbage and asks if that's a board game. And I didn't know you liked cribbage. I've never played cribbage, so you'll have to teach that to me sometime. Our next reader is Tanya McDonald.
What's that? Well, I learned it right after senior year of high school. We were off hanging out at someone's house and didn't have a cribbage board, so I learned it with pencil and cards and a piece of paper to keep score. I was amazed when I found out there was actually a board and pegs involved. Anyway, great fun. Time for some haiku. Let's see, where did the first one go? And this one, you had a dentist poem, so I got this one out for you. Dental appointment. I reacquaint myself with the acoustic tiles. Spring fever. The greenhouse full of spiders. Taking down the lights, a water droplet twinkles. Now this one you have to envision. 2 stars and a satellite. Equilateral, isosceles. Convex mirror. I still can't roll my tongue. Did you know it's a genetic thing? I'm a genetic freak. Everyone else in my family can roll their tongue. As my sisters repeatedly pointed out during dinner, many, many times. 2 a.m. foot cramp. My headache suddenly gone. And I had to wake up enough to write that down too. Hitting the snooze button. My hand still asleep. All tingly. Spike and Buffy lean close, eyes shut. Power outage. Just finally finished watching, thank you Netflix, yes, thank you. Finally finished watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So, it was very exciting, especially when the power is flickering. Growing to-do list. The desktop hyacinth, fully open. Final episode of Buffy. The cat wanders off. She was less enthused about the whole thing. Let's see. And I wrote a pirate haiku for you, Taylor. I attempted at least. It needs some help. The Jolly Roger snaps in the wind, wavering siren song. Thank you.
Very nice. Next up, we have Dee Watson, who says, I don't like to be bored.
Good evening. So, both of these I've written over the last few months, and I'll just read them in chronological order. So, one is Meditations on Unnatural Divisions. The wall is an interruption. Brick, mortar, masonry, concrete, a division. Slabs, stone, gravel, wire, a shield. Warnings, barbs, bulletins, bullets, a wonder. Rebar, steel, construction, scale, engineering. It is a fortress and a tower, both a guardian and a warden, a destination, a dead end, a redirect, detour, obstacle, a symbol, for change and hope and fear, for values, freedoms, and safety, a symbol for rights and birthrights, for strength and governance, chaos and order, a symbol. To define the us from the them, it breaks a landscape. It blocks a passage. It redraws old boundaries, heals over festered wounds, hides protest, hides distinctions of class. It smothers, it forces, it shadows. It hides the living. It is the same as a canyon, a chasm, an ocean. It is a pit, a shroud, a veil, an abyss, a stone, a tombstone. It is a hand pressed firmly around feet, restraining movement of eager ankles. It is the same as shackles, as bars. It is the same as a heavy door locked from the other side. It is the same as a cloak, a screen, a desert. It is the same as an expanse of ice and a field of coals. It is the same as blindness. It is the same as a mountain range separating friend and the lover. It is a teacher teaching disdain of difference, disregard for dignity, and distaste for community. The wall is a night and darkness dividing days. It is time travel which freezes the present in the past on one side and moves the present to the future on the other. It is a meridian between opportunity and despair. It is a fire line set between enemies, set between the partners of trade, set against progress. It is politics and bureaucracy and rhetoric. It is divisive, protective, oppressive. The wall is only facade. So, this one I'm still kind of working on, so we'll give it a shot. Forever I've wondered what's drawn me to you. For always, I've wondered what it is we've held in common. What is the symmetry between you and me? At last, when you finally broke forth, I was confronted with the depths of our solidarity. Your multitudes have cried out. With the unexpressed protests of my own heart, I was living in the plains downhill from your bursting dam. Smoke rises from the fire in me, but the flame is snuffed out by the breath I hold. A boiling geyser in you has been stifled, but the breaking point of your masses has overrun the barrier. and the streets are flooded with the chaos that prolonged desperation incurs. One man's self-immolation sparks the movement of a nation, a cataclysmic seismic shift to mobilize a legion to recreate a region. Where did the surprise come from? We are not lettered experts, but how many of us there were who felt that anticipation rising in our bones? I am expressive, but viewed through a dim lens. You are vital and passionate, but the world presumes to paint you with a broad and dusty sand-colored brush. So who wouldn't hear an outcry on the approach? Where did the experts' surprise come from, and who couldn't smell this arriving on the wind? Who? If they were to chip the paint from our surface, they would find the patina of a similar old soul. Thank you.
Glad our applause is reaching all the way to the back. Thank you. Our next reader says sorry, and that's actually a game I've been playing a lot lately with my kids who are 5 and 7. Sorry and Uno, a lot of games with them. Please welcome Shauna Fisher.
Ooh, bright light. Okay. So this one I call the flow of time. Sometimes we just have to ride with the flow of energy, ride the tide, so to speak, to where the journey unfolds. Sometimes it takes time for us to see it clear. Flowing with the energy, just seeing where it takes us to the next phase of consciousness and awareness of that in which our next step on the journey is to be seen. Flowing, 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 about and about, beyond the shores of where our dreams begin, and we beckon onto a new chapter of self-discovery and accomplishment as we follow through and finally sit back and listen and trust in the grandest of the flow of the universe and its tides of wisdom for us to share. So, and then this next one I have is just a little short poem I wrote. A friend's cat had passed away, so it just made me think about just the impact that animals have on our life. So it's just, it says, the comfort they share, love they bring, honor they bestow upon us, the light they shine forever in our hearts and life, the laughter and tears. Our life is truly blessed by having them share it with us, these animals that cross our paths and weave into our soul.
Thanks. Next up, someone who doesn't enjoy board games, Jamie Stevens.
I can't remember if this is my first time reading here or not. Played here. I'm here every day. I don't see why I probably haven't read here. So this is called On the Other Side. I wrote it about my best friend, but he's not here anymore, sadly. And it goes like, what a story we'd make, two heartless kids with the world to take. Heartless kids with emotion to fix, so what the fuck are we doing here? Wasting all our time and wasting every tear. Every tear we shed is wasted as we lie in bed awake every night. Curtains drawn, we block the light. So much courage, so much talent, so much knowledge, no time to repent. We live with every sin and carry the chains we bound ourselves in. Every day is a sacrifice, just one more day in paradise. Ready to give in to every vice, it's our life, it's ours for the taking. And in our mission we are forsaken. Every night I wake up shaking in excitement for the world to come. To fearless kids, what a heartache we make. To fearless kids, to heartless mistakes. That's the beauty and tragedy. We're a piece of artwork that's been shattered and broke, lost in the murk of every word we spoke. Don't understand, so misunderstood. We'll take a stand against the whole fucking world. We'll take down the army of the living and the dead till every fucking water fountain pours and drips red. We'll take down the hate that keeps us at bay. We'll strive against fate and swing life away. What a story we'd make to heartless kids with the world to take. We've got the future in our hands and we've dropped out of your fucking plans. We slept on the cold cement for weeks and weeks and weeks on end. We scrounged, we spanged, we tried to make a change in the world today. Keep the hate at bay. We smoked and we tweaked, we forgot how to eat. Starved, we traveled so far, carrying bags and an electric guitar. Played on the side of the road as we wept for the loss of their love, we had no respect. We walked along the highway, tried thumbing for a ride. Lost ourselves on 129th, got nowhere to hide. Jumped at every siren, still holding our breaths. Two fearless kids on a road to death. Not a dime to our names nor a prayer in the world. We wandered aimlessly as we walked across the world. This concrete jungle is heartless and cold. Our tears are warm, but we're growing old. Older and bitter, even more each day. Now with no home and so far away. We ached and we pained, more inside than out. We came back again, just two fucking washouts. We tried so hard to attempt to strive. We tried so hard to survive. It was worth a shot. We were almost there. Just one fatal mistake. Now it's just another nightmare that haunts my sleep. Gone away forever and a day, and I'm locked away forever today. Goodbye, my friend. I'll see you on the other side. Now there's one terrified kid who's numb to the world. Can't feel the sting as I lay curled with broken wings and write this poem in the dead of winter. In freezing cold, my heart's frozen forever. One horrified kid who's good as dead, feeling the hit, there's nothing left. Nothing left for me, no place to call home. On a road of broken dreams with no hope, I walk alone. One scarred kid with a world to break, got no one to love, all I got's this hate that burns and tears through my deadened veins. I could never cheat fate, you died in vain. I wrote that in rehab last year. And this one's poetic. It's not really a poem, but it's poetic. It's called No Windows Here. Wrote it on December 5th, 2009. I heard the voice of the wind in the trees in my ears. It says it wants in, but I said no. I won't let anyone into my soul. No one sees what's wrong with me, only I know. Writing with eloquence won't get me anywhere, but I love the melodic rhythm of the words, like the voice of the world as it turns in my ears. I dreamed the life of an abandoned soul sailing on ships to lost far-off shores, lands of trees you can't see through the forest, and mountains the size of molehills. Go to a place and say, where am I? I don't know, just lost in space beyond space and life beyond life, world beyond world. The life of a life once lost, and every soul is covered in frost. And this black beyond black, no white beyond white, white being nothingness, and black being whole or whole, whichever. Black leaves a sense of a void, devoid of emotion or thought or feel, a sense of emptiness. The water from the faucet, it leaves me spiraling in and out down the drain. I spin, the room spins, and then the land, oh, that beautiful land of waterfalls of misty blue, and rivers that rush through cities and downtown flats. A feeling of dehydration takes over, dehydration of love, thirst for freedom. Where is love? No one knows this rare thing in this space beyond space, this nowhere place, this cataclysm of ill-fated souls all gathered into one fire and maelstrom of decadence. Till everyone has a breakdown of their decaying self. Everyone's a monotony of what they always hated. I can't stand to look in the mirror anymore. Tedium and invariability of what I once thought was me, but no more. Still, that monster stares back at me in the mirror day in, day out. I see its infernal eyes as it banishes me to a life of pretending to be unremorseful in this hated life. I feel it. I regret it. Oh, the regret in my hostile heart, my vibrant hostile heart of hearts that I no longer consider my own. It's too cynical to see. I can't see the sun that washes over my body, my frail white body that appears so docile, but in all reality is domineering. My dogged presence overwhelming my genial life. I would belligerently oppose this awful presence upon the world beyond worlds that turns in my ears. My ears is of non-existent imagination. I'm not real in this world beyond world, space beyond space, life beyond life. My mind is unable to decipher between reality and ideological thinking. Such cognition lies beyond my feeble grasp. What made the world so black and white with his cognitive thinking? I don't know. The world even exists? I don't know. If I exist? I don't know. I don't. I'm a figment of imagination, dramatized apparition perceived as human. What makes a person real? I don't know. No one is real. No one in this world is real. They are sententious, just like a pretty mannequin. All mannequins in this life beyond life that turns and rotates and revolves in my sight. My pupils the size of quarters, bigger than stars, bigger than a mountain the size of a molehill. You see the reflection of the forest beyond the trees, beyond the time of day or year. No one gives me the time of day. It's light all day. There is no dark. Either that or it's always dark. I don't know. There's no windows on my black heart and soul for me to peer through and say.
Thank you. Is there anyone who hasn't read who would still like to read, who hasn't signed up yet? No, we've got Taylor to come. I'll read the last 6 of my Year of Basho poems. 7th month. Kiyotaki River. The green pine needles fall into the waves. 8th month. The harvest moon glows over fog at the mountain's feet. Misted rice fields. The 9th month. Deepening autumn. Is the butterfly also licking the chrysanthemum dew? 10th month. Turning color, a lightly tinted leaf fallen to the tofu. Refined garden. The passing winter shower brings it to life. And the 12th month. This refers to something that's called Sekizoro beggars who appear at the end of the year because that's a time when people in Japan traditionally try to absolve themselves of their sins and try to make their life, straighten their life out for the new year. So the beggars come out because they know they can get a lot of donations. Sekizoro beggars. When they appear, poets also know the year is ending. Basho. And our last reader is Taylor. And Taylor, you haven't told us what your favorite board game might be, so maybe you can tell us that when you come up. Please welcome Taylor.
All right, so I think my favorite board game when I was a kid was that one, Mousetrap. And now I've been playing this game called Dread Pirate. It's a fun game. You'll find it next door if you ever get curious. And I'd like to start off my set of poems to an ode to a friend of mine who has recently passed from war, and I can only imagine the people next to him as he went. And so this is for him, TJ, and his family, and all his friends. It's titled A Small Pain in My Chest. I didn't write this. I found it, but it pretty much helped. The soldier boy was sitting calmly underneath that tree. As I approached it, I could see him beckoning to me. The battle had been long and hard and lasted through the night, and scores of figures on the ground lay still by morning's light. I wonder if you'd help me, sir, he smiled as best he could. A sip of water on this morn would surely do me good. We fought all day and fought all night with scarcely any rest. A sip of water, for I have a small pain in my chest. As I looked at him, I could see the large stain on his shirt, all reddish brown from his warm blood mixed in with the Asian dirt. Not much, he said. I count myself more lucky than the rest. They're all gone while I just have a small pain in my chest. Must be fatigue, he weakly smiled. I must be getting old. I see the sun is shining bright, and yet I'm feeling cold. We climbed the hill, 200 strong, but as we cleared the crest, the night exploded and I felt the small pain in my chest. I looked around to get some aid. The only things I found were big, deep craters in the earth, bodies on the ground. I kept on firing at them, sir. I tried to do my best, but finally sat down with this small pain in my chest. I am grateful, sir, he whispered, as I handed my canteen, and smiled a smile that was, I think, the brightest that I've seen. Seems silly that a man my size, so full of vim and zest, could find himself defeated by a small pain in his chest. What would my wife be thinking of her man so strong and grown, if she could see me sitting here too weak to stand alone? Could my mother have imagined, as she held me to her breast, that I'd be sitting here one day with this pain in my chest? Can it be getting dark so soon? He winced up at the sun. It's growing dim, and I thought that the day had just begun. I think before I travel on, I'll get a little rest. And quietly, the boy died from that small pain in his chest. I don't recall what happened next. I think I must have cried. I put my arms around him, and I pulled him to my side. And as I held him to me, I could feel our wounds were pressed. The large one in my heart, and the small one in his chest. And this one is mainly for all of everyone else. It's titled Hope. When all about you is black with gloom, and all you feel is pending doom, when your bones are racked with grim despair, when every breath is a gasp for air, keep on going through, though you need to grope, for all around is bend. For around the bend is a ray of hope. A ray of hope is perhaps all that's left, as your will to live has been bereft. You've lost it all, it's just no use. You can't end it all, you need no excuse. But throw away that piece of rope and give yourself a chance of hope. Just give yourself another day, brushing aside what your thoughts may say. This is your life, and you can make it a new start. By ignoring the brain, just follow the heart. Taking baby steps in order to cope, and minute by minute, you'll build on your hope. Build on your hope, one day at a time. Through the road be steep and hard to climb. The hurts of the past, they should be dead. The fears of the future are all in your head. Just live in the present and refuse to mope. Your life will sparkle, for you're living in hope. And then this one is to Mikhail, who can't be here tonight, but I found a poem in his poem book written by Katie Dyer, who wrote this on April 9th, 2009. And it is called I Am Spirit. I am the tulip in the roses. I am the spot in the spotless. I am the wind that never blows. I am the face in the tree. I am the moon in the day. I am the creature in the alley. I am the seashell in that city, and I am the show on the stage. I am the love in your heart. I am the twirl in the dance. I am the rose in the garden. I am the peach on the apple tree. I am the volume of the soul. I am the end of the beginning. I am the only me in this universe. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Taylor. Thank you all for being here, for listening, for bringing your words. It's been a night of humor and tears, passionate, powerful words. We thank SoulFood Books, and we wish Martha Solano's babies well, and we give a special round of applause for not only all of yourselves and SoulFood, but for our special guest, Tom Hunley. Thanks to all of us and all of you. Hope you'll be back next month when we have Nicole Hardy, who is a fabulous performance and page poet, and a poet to be named later. So we'll see you on March 17th, St. Patrick's Eve, for that poetry reading. And until then, I hope your life is filled with poetry. Some applause and good night.